Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Just really depends on where you guys are coming from in the world today. We are going to get started here soon. I see a couple of people still joining in, which I think is great. We'll let them join in. We have a really good, I think, presentation today. I'm kind of excited about this. The more I learn about Halo PSA and what they're doing and how they're doing it, the more excited I get. But today's webinar is really going to be, I'm going to say actually a little bit different than what we've done in the past. We've had more presentation and less demo, but we've gotten some really good feedback from our users and listeners, and we're going to do less presentation today and much more demos and actually seeing some of the integrations that have gone on. So this will be a really good webinar for you guys today. It is being recorded. We always get that question. Let's go over a few housekeeping items before we get into the meat of the presentation. As always, right, I welcome you guys to ask questions. Take advantage of that GoToWebinar control panel. Type your questions there. We've got a team standing by. We are going to keep this a little bit more dynamic. So if you have questions that you want to ask about something you're seeing right then and there, ask it, right? Put it in that panel, and if it's pertinent, I will interrupt our speakers today to ask that question. And then, of course, feel free to email support@domotz.com. And Morgan, who's going to be speaking from Halo, may also want to interject at some point where you guys can reach Halo's technical support if you have questions there that are maybe a bit more in depth. That being said, let's talk a little bit about what we're doing today, and then we'll get into the introductions here. We're going to talk a little bit about Domotz because I know we have people coming from Halo, so I'll give you my 2-slide overview. And then we also have people from Domotz that are coming in to learn more about Halo. And so we'll let Morgan talk a little bit about that. And then it's about demos, right? We'll talk about what integrations we've done on the Domotz side. We'll talk about the integrations that Halo has done on their side with Domotz, and then we'll get to the Q&A. I think it's going to be a really good topic. We originally were going to have Tim Bowers, who's one of the product managers there at Halo, join us, but unfortunately he ended up being sick. So I've removed our picture slides, but instead who we have is Morgan from their integration side at Halo. Morgan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Morgan. I'm part of the implementations team at Halo. Some of you may have worked with me. Some of you will be working with me in the future. I'll be sort of providing some information on Halo PSA. I'll be leading the demonstration, answering questions as well, and I'll be sort of providing some contact details for further inquiries. So yeah, looking forward to going through the integration and sort of seeing how we can make use of the platforms.
Yeah, and I said you were with the integrations team. Integrations, implementations. You do it all. That's what I understand. You know?
yeah, a bit of both, really. Yeah.
And we also, the Domotz team knows this, but we've got Giancarlo, our CTO here. Giancarlo, you want to say a couple things?
Hi, JB. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, Morgan. Nice to see you. Yeah, I'm Giancarlo Fanelli. Most of the Domotz users already know me. I'm the CTO of Domotz. I will be a demo part of the integration we have been developing together with the HaloPSA.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. In fact, I think a lot of the Domotz listeners, Giancarlo, are going to be pretty excited that they hear less of me and more of you today. So that's a good thing. Let me, as I said, and as part of this agenda, let me move on to a little bit about Domotz. I'm really just hitting the high-level value propositions here. For the Domotz users, this is a recap, but for some of the Halo users, I want you to recognize the fact that Domotz, while we are a network management solution, we're ultimately helping you run your business more efficiently, right? We're a tool for you. It's really about making your team, right, more efficient, making your MSP, your integration company, whatever it is, a lot more efficient. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is reduce the labor costs that you have, reduce things like truck rolls, right, all of those expenses, while helping you generate customer loyalty, right? Helping you build a better business, a better service model for your customers. So how do we do those things? Well, it's really through network management, diagnostics, being able to remotely log into systems, right? That's our fundamental premise, right? Getting proactive alerts. But also, we do an amazing job of what we would consider to be asset management and documentation. Really, any of the network-based assets that are out there, we're going to automatically discover those, we're going to classify them, and then help you document that into your system. Ultimately, what we do, and part of the reason that we're working with companies like Halo, is because we do a kick-ass job of integrating all of this information that we gather around the network and incorporating that into other platforms and other systems, which you'll see. I put this security and awareness bullet here as well, because as you guys know, right, over the last several years, security processes have been such an important part of any service that you're providing, making sure that you remain secure, making sure that you use tools that are secure, but then also a system like Domotz will not only understand what all the networks look like, but also it will help you map that network. It'll help look at all the devices, which ports are open on those devices, right? Look which ports are open on the system itself, right? The network itself. And we help you document as well as manage all that. And that's what we're about. So my last slide that you guys have seen, but it's really how do we achieve those three things? Well, first and foremost, right, we're one of the best when it comes to IoT discovery, right? The Internet of Things, anything that has a network interface, whether it's wired or wireless, right? We're going to discover, we're going to classify that. We're going to do that across VLANs, across subnets, right? However you configure that system, we're going to help you there. Once we've discovered all those devices, it's really about that proactive monitoring and alerting of those devices. So being able to set alerts on the devices that you care about so that you can know that a system is in a troubled state before you get a phone call from your customer. That's ultimately how we build efficiency. It's ultimately how we build that customer loyalty, and that's some of the benefits of us. When a system does go down, right, or when it's in a troubled state, or when you need to reconfigure something, being able to securely connect to that system and then manage it is what we're all about. And of course, I couldn't use that efficiency tagline if it wasn't for the fact that we are easy to deploy, easy to use, and really easy to help troubleshoot any system that's out there, right? Our user interface, we've done a lot of amazing changes over the last couple of months when it comes to taking a multi-tenant world that we're in and being able to put that into a dashboard that's easy to use, easy to filter, easy to search against, right? Some of the tools that we have there are just amazing. So I think that that's enough about Domotz for those that haven't seen it. If you want to know more about Domotz, I absolutely invite you to go do our trial, right? Go to domotz.com, sign up for an account, install an agent, and see how it works in your systems. With all that being said, I want to turn this now over to Morgan so that he can talk a little bit more about Halo here. So Morgan, take it away.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so to those who don't know, Halo is approximately a 30-year-old company at this point, founded in 1994. The same two founders of that company still run it to this day. For the longest time, it was a Windows-based application until fairly recently, around 2018. We took that mature functionality from a Windows application and sort of moved that into a web-based application written in React in the front end. So the experience that you have is, snappy and clean. While the features that you have at your disposal have been sort of built throughout decades, really. And the motivation for using Halo PSA, as with all PSA systems, is to centralize your data, right? To be able to collect information on your assets, to be able to record your billing data and your user data, and centralize that all in one platform. And of course, to be able to report on that and return such reports back to your customers, who will be able to access those via self-service and also be able to track issues they have. So some of the core features that Halo PSA has to offer is everything from the service desk capabilities through to project management and CRM functions. So it really is a full PSA platform where you can have the entire life cycle of your company and of your customer relations mapped, all the way from a new lead being generated to a project being tracked for installation or for a new client onboarding, through to a full managed service agreement being created and automatic invoicing being synced across to your accounts package, and of course for asset data to be integrated into Halo, which we're about to discuss now.
Yeah, awesome. That's a great introduction. And it is, Morgan, the one thing that you said there, the fact that you guys have been around for roughly 30 years, right? That's actually amazing, right? It says a lot. You've gone through the ups and downs of many industries, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that you've built out this system is awesome. And what I will say, through many of the different social media platforms that we track and stuff, we're seeing a lot of positive feedback from your user interface and the integration of all these tools. So I think it speaks well to what you guys are doing, as well as what Domotz is trying to do, right? By making an easy to use, easy to deploy system that people just, it's simple, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's all you want to save time performing otherwise menial tasks, so you can free up that time to do what matters most, which is helping your customers solve problems.
Yeah, perfect. Well, let's do this. Let me put this slide up here, right? It's time for demos. What I'm going to do is transition presenter here. I think we're going to start with Giancarlo, and then we will hand it back to you, Morgan. So let me find Giancarlo in my list. Here we go. So Giancarlo, you should see the presentation now. That means that my screen has disappeared and you should be able to show it. While you're doing that, I think it's kind of humorous to find, and I think that some of the people that have watched our webinars probably noticed that Giancarlo is sitting in my normal seat and I'm in the green room, right? So I think that's a little humorous.
Yeah. So, and we've recently moved to a new office in the UK, so yeah, still got to sort out our
hey,
decorate.
Morgan, that's a beautiful brick wall. Okay. So.
JB, thanks for showing your seat here.
Yeah, you bet. Take it away, Giancarlo.
Okay, can you see my screen? Just confirmation.
We can.
Okay, very good. So for whoever is familiar with Domotz, this is our dashboard with a list of all the agents and a recap map with very easy to understand color-coded status of the agent. So red is something wrong, the agent is basically not connected to our cloud, or the network is disconnected. There's like an ISP issue or local issue with connectivity. Yellow means that there might be some devices that which are important for the MSP, which are currently offline, and so we want to check them. And then of course green, it's probably just this one, it's all green, where everything is working properly and it's a good status. So what Domotz does, as JP was mentioning, is monitoring, primarily network monitoring, connectivity between devices, and then in-deep analysis of the status of devices, like performance and services which are enabled, not enabled, and so on. One of the primary goals of this integration between Domotz and HaloPSA from a ticketing system point of view is a way to, whenever something has been discovered in Domotz, inform HaloPSA, and so the MSP, that there is an issue on the network. So I want to show you first the end goal, so the results of this integration, then I will show you how to configure this integration. So I have basically on this my St. John's High School agents, I've configured the integration with the HaloPSA, and I've started monitoring one of my security camera. So this is a leading security camera, which is monitored to Domotz. I can say that there is an HaloPSA attached alert on it. So whenever something happens on this camera, like in this case, I can switch off the camera from, yeah, I'm sorry for this one. I can switch off the camera from the PoE port of the switch. So Domotz is is allowed to automatically identify where every single device is connected to the port of the switch. And if the switch is a PoE switch, it can also control the power of the device itself. So in this case, the security camera is powered through the PoE port of the switch. And thanks to Domotz, I can basically switch off the camera. I can simulate that the camera is going offline. And now the end results will be that when the camera is going offline, I will have a ticket automatically created into HaloPSA. So if for whoever is familiar with the HaloPSA, this is the view of all the open tickets or the in-progress ticket. It's not yet there yet, so let me see when the device goes offline, or at least it loses connectivity. It might take a little bit, so Domotz perform monitoring every 30 seconds. So every 30 seconds, it will realize if a certain device is losing connectivity with the rest of the network. But in order to avoid like hysteresis or some devices that just lose a single ping or a single heartbeat, what Domotz does is just collecting more heartbeats in a row, and it marks a device as offline only after, by default, only after 2 minutes of connectivity issues. You can configure this 2 minutes time window in any way you want. In this case, let's leave it at 2 minutes. So it means that it might take a little bit to have the tickets created. Meanwhile, let me explain that we have documented this kind of integration in our user guide. I will show you later on how to configure this integration, but meanwhile, take a note of the user guide, which is also accessible from the Domotz UI itself. Okay, when speaking, okay, I see that the device has been discovered now as losing heartbeat. So if I go to the HaloPSA, it will automatically refresh, but let me force it. Yeah, you see there is a new ticket connected to my agent, St. John's High School. And in this ticket, we have a few details. So you basically now, it's just lost the heartbeat. The ticket will be automatically updated when something else happens on the same device. You have a few details that come from Domotz. So there is a direct link to the Domotz agent, to the Domotz site with all the information of the Domotz, and there is a direct link to the device itself where an issue has been experienced. In this case, this is the Merit Lean security camera, and the issue is that the device has lost heartbeat. Now you will notice something at the bottom of the ticket, which is this link to a previous ticket. Let me explain what happens here. Now when Domotz identify something happening on a device or completely on a network, like a complete agent, if there is no tickets open for that specific device or for that specific agent, it creates a new ticket, like in this case. But Domotz also recognizes if there was already a ticket for that specific device, so that you can have a complete history. So this is previous ticket. It basically is the reference to the ticket that I created this morning for that same devices, where during my test, I switch off that security camera again, and then I switched on again. Okay, so let's go again back in Domotz. Yeah, the device is down for 2 minutes, so it's now offline. Now, if I refresh the same ticket, so as you see here, the first information is the heartbeat lost on that device. If I refresh that same ticket, there will be an update. As I was mentioning, we will continue to update this ticket until the ticket itself is closed. Now, let's see the good thing here. As I was mentioning, we can, of course, switch off the device, but at the same time, we can also switch on the device. So let me simulate now the device coming back online. I have now configured the integration between Domotz and the HaloPSA so that in the case Domotz identify a recovery status of something happened, it will automatically close the ticket on HaloPSA. In this case, the event is the device goes down, so the recovery state is the device goes back online. Now, what it will happen basically is that as soon as Domotz recognizes that the agent is back online, this ticket will be automatically closed. Let's wait a little bit for the device to be discovered as online. Sorry for this. That's the nice thing of having a live demo. You need to wait something for things to happen. Just a second again.
But Giancarlo, while that's doing that, I'll point out, I turned off my camera because I'm sure people are tired of seeing that bright green screen.
Okay.
But the thing I wanted to point out is this type of integration that we've done with the creation of the ticket and the updating of the ticket is absolutely one of the better integrations that I think we've seen. Being able to like automatically close tickets and stuff like that has been a request for people, right? Enabling those types of capabilities. But the fact that we show the historical information, right, or keep the ticket being updated as changes occur, I think it really provides you as a service provider, right, good information on what's going on with individual devices or systems that are out there. So
I completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree with that. It basically provides a history. So it provides within the same ticket a history of the events for that same device. But with the reference to the previous ticket, you can go back in the history and see what happened probably yesterday or 2 days ago on that same agent and so on.
yeah.
Now, if you see here.
Oh, did it update? Go ahead.
Yeah, it did update. Yeah. So the first event was the agent discovered the security camera as lost in heartbeat, and then the device was marked as down after 2 minutes. And now the device has been discovered up, and as you can see, it has been automatically closed by this integration. This is optional. The automatically close of the ticket is optional. So if you don't want the ticket to be automatically closed, you can keep it open as far as you want, and then you can manually close. As I was mentioning, as far as the ticket is open, Domotz will continue to update the same ticket with all the events that happens on the same device. Otherwise, if something happens on the device again, we will open a new ticket and we reference the previous ticket. Now, very quickly, let me show how the integration
Wait.
Configured. Yeah.
Before you do that, Giancarlo, did you? Maybe people saw this, but in the ticket as well, right? We put a direct link to that device in the ticket, right? So our assumption, right? Our assumption within Domotz is that you have configured Domotz, you have set up which networks you're monitoring, all the devices, you've associated the alerts to the PSA tool here, right? So HaloPSA in this case. And what you are then doing is leveraging, the PSA tool as your primary, I'm going to call it pane of glass, right? The dashboard, right? The cool thing about this ticket getting created the way it does, and by providing a link back to Domotz, is it gives you easy access directly into that system, right? And it links right to that device.
So now it's text, but by next week, this will be a direct link. So yeah, as I was mentioning, as you were correctly mentioned, JP, if you use that link, you will jump directly to the device which was experiencing that issue, and you can review what's going on directly in Domotz. Absolutely. Yeah, this is a security camera and use that link. Yeah, that's a very, very valid point, JP. Now, let me talk about the integration. As I was mentioning, when you start integrating a platform, an external tool through Domotz, you start from these service and drivers, which is basically our integration access point. We have HaloPSA. You see it's already connected, but let me show you what happened when you connect. So let me close this one. So you have a Halo. Yeah, you can see all the integration that have been built by Domotz. You have, when you start, there is a connection button similar to the other one, where you basically provide the HaloPSA URL. In this case, Domotz has an account in HaloPSA, this is the URL. You provide a client ID, which is the public identification of an API in HaloPSA, and you provide a client secret. This is where you configure if you want Domotz to automatically close tickets when possible. So when there is a recovery status, Domotz will automatically close the ticket. Where you collect the HaloPSA information from the API, it's explained in the guide. So if you click on the Okay, when you go to the HaloPSA, if you click on the user guide here, you basically jump in this instruction, which provides very clear instruction on where to create on HaloPSA this kind of API key. So basically go on Halo, and within the configuration, you have an integration section where you can have HaloPSA API. In the application layer, you will see my API key with the client ID. You basically create a new one. You will specify your own name, so demo webinar, which is just a name to recognize. You will need to give some permissioning here, and the permissioning are really related to the tickets. So you need to read the tickets, you need to edit the tickets, of course. What is it? Whatever. You need to edit the ticket. You will also need to give access to read customer. Why do we need to access to the customer through Domotz? And this is the second step of the integration. Once you have connected Domotz to the integration in a HaloPSA, you need basically to map a Domotz agent, which is a site, to a customer and the location in HaloPSA. So you basically need to say, okay, this dentist is basically, I don't know the customer here. Let's simulate it's Ron's Iron Works with location name. Once you do that connection, I cannot connect that one yet. Let me connect my agent here. Once you I have all my agents have done. Come on. Once you connect an agent to a specific site, when something happens in Domotz on that specific site, it will create automatically a ticket into HaloPSA. This is not enough, sorry for that. Once you have connected and configured the HaloPSA integration, you need to configure what we call the alert profile. So by here you create a shared alert profile. I've done already that one. What it looks like is you configure the custom channel, the contact channel to HaloPSA, and then you will track which triggers you want to provide to HaloPSA. In this case, whatever happens to a device, like device goes up or down, or heartbeat loss, or if the IP changes, and whatever happens on the network level, if the network loses a connection and so on. And then you can use this alert profile within your agents. So from the agent side, you go, for instance, we configured that one for the peak network, test peak network. So what you do is in the alert part, this is the right, really a big network, so we have some agents here. So in the alert setting, you will tell the system, okay, I want to be monitored through the HaloPSA alert profile. That's basically everything you need to do to have this integration with the ticketing system of HaloPSA.
Giancarlo.
So, yeah.
So we did get an interesting question and point, and this is something that you and I have talked about. It is probably a great segue into Morgan's demo, but the question specifically was that they noticed that the asset was not set on the ticket from the alert, right? Does the Domotz Halo integration import the devices at a site as assets in Halo? And then
so
the ticket automatically get created, right? Go ahead.
Yeah. So right now, it's not connected to the assets. The ticketing system just create the ticket with generic user, but specifically to that customer. The next step will be like the integration 3.0, not because the integration 1.0 was HaloPSA getting this information about the assets from Domotz. This integration 2.0 is creating the ticket automatically. 3.0, so the third version will be, okay, when we create a ticket and there is an integration with the assets, we know exactly what which of the device the ticket refers to, and we are synchronizing this information with the HaloPSA now, and we know where to go there. It's not there yet, but yeah, it's very relevant question.
So Thanks. It's coming up. I agree. It's something that we've talked about, and there's an element of the integration that we're doing, and then of course there's the element that Halo is working with Domotz and using our APIs, and sorting all through that is an important next step.
Yeah. So let me make Morgan presenter now.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Giancarlo. Yeah, that's looking really good. Really excited to see that 3.0 is coming along very nicely. Cool. So let me share.
Morgan, while you're doing that, I just want to remind everybody, I mean, we're getting some good questions coming in. I know that our team is answering some of these, but a lot of these questions too, I think we're going to want to ask at the end as well. So keep those questions coming, right? Use that questions panel there. And yeah, looks like you're up and running here, Morgan, so take it away.
Cool, yeah, thank you very much. So I'll sort of pick up where Giancarlo left off, and we'll just start off by talking a little bit about assets in Halo in general, and then we'll take a look at how we configure the Domotz integration within Halo PSA, and then we'll talk about some of the use cases and how you can leverage the integration to, you know, that single pane of glass is what we'll come back to. So what we're looking at here is just the home screen for Halo PSA. Very configurable in terms of the appearance. Everything that we have here can be customized on a per technician basis. We can just go up here to our account if we wish and change our application color as required. Now you'll see on the left hand side you have a series of options at your disposal, one of which is assets. So we'll go into our assets. Now this is where all of those Domotz agents devices will be imported into, and this is effectively your asset registry. So this is where you're going to find all of the devices for your clients in the system. Clicking into any of these, we'll be able to store any information that we need on a per asset type basis. So again, all of the fields that we see here, fully configurable per asset type. You know, something like an operating system is not going to be applicable to a keyboard. So we can configure the different fields that are visible based on our asset type. Some of the other options that are available when you're tracking your assets in Halo is to be able to see the tickets that have been logged against said asset. So if we go into our tickets tab, we'll be able to see that there's one ticket currently open against this asset. And if I need to just see some more in-depth information against this, I can simply click in. I'm going to see a full audit trail of that information against our ticket. So again, you'll be able to track, you know, incident volumes per asset type. So you'll easily be able to see those assets that your clients do have that are problem assets, and that will allow you to prioritize, you know, any sort of upselling for new devices or anything like that. So I'm just going to move this back to our global settings. Cool. Now what you can also do within your assets is you can add them to your managed service agreements. So quite common use case if the MSPs have is, you know, they'll have a managed service agreement that is charged per device and possibly even per server, per workstation, and you can simply add your assets to your agreements, and that will return them in the agreements tab, again with a link to the agreement itself, where we can see all of the assets that have been added onto this client's contract. And in our recurring invoices section, we can see what we're billing for on a recurring basis. The creation and syncing of these invoices to your accounts package can also be fully automated. And you'll also note here that a couple of our lines can be determined based on other areas of the system, such as license counts coming in from CSP, asset counts, or user counts straight in the system. You'll also see that once your assets have been imported from Domotz, you will have the option to configure your own custom buttons along the top here, one of which is going to be able to open that asset directly in Domotz. So you can seamlessly transit between Halo and Domotz, you know, on a per asset basis. So if you need to come in here and see some more information within Domotz itself, that's just one click away. As far as the actual integration is concerned, setting up is very straightforward. You do so just by heading to the configuration panel, and within here we have our integration section. You'll see dozens of integrations that we have in the system. Here we are, one of which is Domotz. And now all we need to do to actually hook Domotz up to Halo PSA is provide our application URL and an API key that we can obtain from Domotz. Upon doing so, you'll want to set your Domotz agent type in here and the site for which that is allocated. And then below that, you have the option to map your own set of fields between Domotz and Halo PSA. So it's not scraping everything. Halo will return in your asset list precisely the information that you are looking to present. You'll see that is also applicable to your assets. So if we just scroll down a little bit further, once you do hook the integration up, you'll be able to search your Domotz asset types and map those to Halo asset types. Again, allowing a sort of seamless transition without any sort of loss of translation between the two systems, which you can populate in here. If we scroll down a little bit further, we will actually see the option to map our own fields that we want from Domotz to come into Halo PSA. And then you simply click import assets here. It's going to scan your network, and Domotz will scan your network. It will return those assets that you can then import into Halo PSA as such. You can also have that sync running on a scheduled basis. To do so, we just simply need to check this, at which point we'll be able to see any sort of audit logs, any error logs from our automated integrator that we should be syncing and updating our assets in Halo on a scheduled basis. So the real motivation that we see and the fantastic use case that we here at Halo PSA think MSPs will be able to use with Domotz is regarding the use of Domotz and an RMM. So what Domotz will be able to do is it's going to be able to scan your networks and retrieve a list of assets that can then be automatically imported into Halo PSA. Now, if you have an RMM connected as well, you'll be able to find any sort of discrepancies between the number of devices that you have your RMM agent installed on versus the number of devices that Domotz has found. And the beauty of Halo PSA, well, one of the beauties of Halo PSA is its reporting capabilities. So behind the scenes, it's just a SQL database, and our reporting functionality is simply a window into that SQL database. If we go to our reporting suite in here, we can configure our own custom reports to return any information that is captured in the system and is hence stored in our database. Got two example reports here, one of which is going to show us a list of devices that are not allocated to any agreements. And that's going to easily allow us to see those devices that have come into Halo PSA that you're not actually getting built, you're not actually getting paid for, right? So you can scan through this list, make sure that everything that's in here that's not on a contract is not on a contract for a reason. And also for all of these assets, you will be able to link directly to the asset within Domotz. So again, everywhere throughout the system, where you're returning asset data, you'll be able to open that in Domotz.
Morgan, sorry for interrupting you. That is actually really interesting. I hadn't seen this, what you guys have done from a reporting. One of the things that I know between Giancarlo and myself and our sales team, a lot of times we're talking with service providers about how they can increase revenues. And one of the things that Domotz does so well is the discovery of all of the assets, right? I should say, to use a better term, all of the network-based devices that are out there that are not being tracked by the service provider. Great examples, right? Simple examples that we always use are unified communication systems that are out there, right? That may be in conference rooms. It's security cameras, right? It's the access control systems that are out there. Those are all critical parts of a business and making sure that your customers stay up and running. If you have a way that you can discover these devices and then let the customer know, hey, these are important to you, I can track these to make sure they're online, it's a huge benefit. And what you're showing us is you can easily generate a report, see these things, say, hey, look at this. This is what I can do for you. And the service provider now can make a few extra dollars per device, right? Or however their business model is set up.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, like I mentioned, that's the power of Halo PSA. You have all of these integrations hooked up and one centralized platform to return all of that data. It's going to be very hard for an MSP to go into QuickBooks to look at an invoice, see what they're invoicing for, then to go into another platform, to go into their RMM to cross-reference those devices compared to what was put onto the invoice. So Halo PSA is really here to bridge the gap for MSPs, to have one, like you mentioned, one pane of glass in which all of their data from seemingly separate systems can be connected. And at that point, you can really start getting the benefits of seeing those different areas all on one screen, as we have here. And like you say, the ultimate end goal there is to make sure that the MSPs are maximizing their profits based on the information that they have at their disposal.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, that sort of leads me on to that next report, which again, we're looking at not only assets within Domotz, but also assets within Ninja RMM. And we can see those assets that are linked, that are from Domotz, that are not in Ninja. So again, if you're invoicing...
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, because one of the questions which we are receiving right now is exactly on the assets that are linked to two different systems. Now, exactly this use case. Now, you have an asset which is linked to Domotz, but the same assets also linked to Ninja. Which one of the two win? How does the asset in Ninja, in HaloPSA gets populated with the data that might be different from Ninja and Domotz?
That's a great question. So within your configuration, you do have your asset matching field, which is going to allow you to specify the unique identifier for your assets. So that's something that you will have at your disposal within Domotz, within Ninja, within any of our RMM integrations. Now, of course, if you have two devices that have divergent information on them, each sync that is successively run will update that information. So it may even, and this is another point about this single pane of glass, it may even be worth, cross-referencing that information. If you have device information in Ninja that doesn't align with Domotz, you'll be able to see that in Halo as the device information is constantly changing. And that is a good opportunity for you to make sure that the information is aligned across those devices. And then, using the unique identifier, the matching field for our imports is going to allow us to update device information as opposed to duplicating it.
And Morgan, I'd point out that Giancarlo's right. This question came up actually a couple times, so it's obviously something that service providers have dealt with. I would kind of take a step back and take a 30,000-foot level at the tools that you guys are using and integrating, right? As a service provider, you've got to make sure that these different tools all work together seamlessly. That's thing number one. Thing number two, of course, is that you also need to make sure that when you are doing the integrations, that you have a proper process for setting up the systems. And one of the things I would say is, if I could use the words like the known truths, right? You have to figure out which tool is going to be the truths that you actually leverage as your documentation, right? Or as the real property values that you want to associate with the system, and make sure that you put a process in place such that the known truths are going into your common pane of glass, right? Into your whether it's the ticketing system or the RMM tool, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's all a point of the quality of data that you get out is only as good as the quality of data that you put in. And yeah, in particular, when you're integrating these various systems into Halo PSA, you want to make sure that the data that you're importing is clean, is accurate, as that is going to allow you to best utilize that data. What I will mention, I just thought of with regards to the RMM/Domotz integration and using both, you can of course specify the fields that you do, the information that you do want to map across. So it may well be a case of importing some of your network related data from Domotz and some of the data from the RMM that Domotz as a network scanner doesn't have access to. So it's all going to be on one asset, but you don't necessarily have to have conflicting fields. You can have some of the fields come from Domotz, some of the fields come from the RMM, and the result is one asset with complete information against it.
Yeah, that's a good
lot
point.
Of sense. Yeah. Morgan, I have another question. This is more related to a previous question that we received during the integration with the ticketing system. If my understanding is correct from what you have presented, you already import into HaloPSA like a GID, an identifier of the device in Domotz. Yep. So in theory, and you have seen when we create the ticket, we already provide like the ID of the device as again. So in theory, the question we received before, when we create a ticket, can we associate the ticket to the asset in the HaloPSA? This is in theory something that we can, let's say, easily reach in the short term.
I mean, I'm not a developer, but I'd like to say that it wouldn't take too much work. The asset ID is quite easily available when you're making those API calls, and if you're importing from Domotz, it's going to have that Domotz ID attributed to it. So yeah, I see no reason why there would be a barrier between when those tickets are logged, having the associated asset allocated, and even taking that a step further and being able to open that asset in Domotz directly from the ticket in a similar fashion to how we have within the asset screen here.
Very good, thanks.
Morgan, actually, let me ask you a question. We're at about 45-50 minutes into the presentation. We can go into a Q&A phase, or was there anything else that you wanted to show, or is your demonstration complete at this point?
No, that was everything that I wanted to discuss. Okay. I want to make sure that there's some time for people to ask questions and to give myself an opportunity to answer them. If we don't have that many questions crop up, then I would like to take the last sort of 5-10 minutes just to discuss some of the other features that are available, and sort of tie what we've discussed today into HaloPSA, as sort of take a step back and look at the wider picture of the platform. But yeah, we'll see how many questions come in.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, we've definitely got a lot of good questions that came in. In fact, one of them is very much around Halo. So let me ask this, right? They pointed out, right, from a solution that they use today, actually probably one of your close neighbors, right, with Autotask, right, that in the UK there, that they have about 20 different integrations going on within that platform. They wanted to understand, how does that compare? I noticed you showed at the beginning, right, when you look at your platform, you have a lot of software integrations that I see going on there. Can you speak to where you guys fit with respect to integrations?
Yeah, of course. I mean, really, it goes back to this sort of the PSA being the centralized platform, right? So, some of the core integrations that you're going to want to make use of, likely going to be sort of Microsoft CSP or your Azure AD integrations to allow you to retrieve that user data. Part of those integrations, whichever one you use, is going to allow both your technicians and your end users to use single sign-on to log into the agent application or the self-service portal respectively. So that's quite a common one. With regards to the sort of the management of your tickets and making sure that you're working from one centralized platform, the Exchange Calendars integration is a very commonly used one. It's going to allow you to sort of schedule appointments with your clients directly from Halo, and not have to worry about two separate calendars to manage. You've got one seamless centralized platform that is going to update both yours and your end users' calendars with appointments that you create within Halo that can be linked to your tickets. Of course, once you go through that cycle, let's say that you know, an issue has been found regarding a server, and you need to go on site to fix that, and you need to actually invoice for that time. Obviously, once those invoices have been generated, you can use one of your accounts package, use one of our accounts packages integrations to sync those invoices automatically. If it's a web-based accounts package such as QuickBooks Online or Xero, that is an automated process, and you don't even have to worry about pressing a button to sync those over. Hopefully that answers your question. The only other point that I would note there is if you're using the CSP integration, not only does that import all of your tenants and all of your users within your managed tenants, it's also going to import all of the licenses per tenant. So you're going to easily be able to see, I'm not sure if we have it in here, let's take a look. You're going to easily be able to see per client the licenses that have been imported, the licenses that have been used by those users, and hence your available licenses. And that goes back to our invoicing. If you're billing for your licensed users, that can all be automated based on what is returned from that CSP integration. So, I mean, my advice is really the more you can integrate with, the better. You know, if you can just use one system, then that is going to make your life easier as opposed to jumping from platform to platform.
Yeah, it gets back to that single pane of glass. You know, we often answer that question in a similar fashion. I mean, showing all the integrations that we have, but I think you guys would agree. And Morgan, your comment about not being a developer is funny because I'm not a developer, and Giancarlo loves it when I make comments like, "Well, it's just software," you know. But
let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm always going to Tim like, oh, can we just do this as a simple change? You know, seemingly easy, and yeah, it never is.
Yeah, but the one thing that we always point out is if there are services, if there are integrations that you guys feel you need in order to make the solution more complete, right? You got to let us know, right? Send a note to our support teams, right? And we'll definitely get it in our queue. I mean, we realize that when we're doing a lot of the integrations, that the integrations that we do are the ones that we hear people asking for, right? Because it's the tools they're using. So I'm sure to help answer that question, right? If they have 20 different integrations and if we're missing one or two, let us know, right? And let's put those together. We got another, I love this question. I'm going to answer it first, but then Morgan, I'm going to give it to you, which the question specifically was, if Halo PSA was to recommend an RMM tool, which has the tightest integration, right, what would it be? My first answer is hey, you got to look at Domotz from a remote monitoring and management of the network, right? Take that. But of course, I think this question probably coming from a service provider is really more about a traditional endpoint RMM. And what recommendations are you guys thinking there? What do you see?
I mean, my advice would be for longevity to go with Ninja. I think long term it's our plan to have the tightest integration with Ninja. For now, I think the End Central is a really solid integration. You know, allows for alerting via email functionality or directly through the API. Can the automate as well? That's another good integration there. But I would probably say to keep your eye out for Ninja. I think that's going to be what we invest most heavily into. I can't fully speak to that. That's something that Tim would know more of than myself. But from conversations I've had, that would be my advice.
Yeah.
I just want to add to that previous point that you made there, JB, about sort of, yeah, if there's some development work, whether it's an integration that you don't see available in Halo PSA, or even some enhancement to the features that we do already have, yeah, absolutely reach out to our support team. If you're an existing client, you know, you'll know where to find us. Even if not, you can send an email into support@halopsa.com. If you're a new client, then obviously you'll get routed through to our sales team. And our development is centered around customer feedback. You know, we don't spend time developing features that customers don't want. everything that we do, every iteration that we create of Halo, which by the way, you can find by hitting the question mark in the top right and going to our release details. Every feature that you'll see in all of our versions is based on feedback from customers. So, you know, the more information that you guys can give us, the more powerful we can make the system.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Technical question that came in, which I definitely want to make sure that we address this, because this has also been a point of conversation that Giancarlo and I have had. It really is centered around unique identifiers, right? What do you use, right? And in the Domotz world, the primary unique identifier that we see is the MAC address, right? It's that MAC address that is unique to every network-based device out there. Giancarlo, did you see that question here around that? And did you, I mean, is there another type of unique identifier that we should be thinking about between Domotz and Halo?
So technically speaking, it's correct. No, the MAC address is a unique identifier actually of the network interface of the device. So you might have devices with multiple network interfaces, which is one single device with multiple interfaces. So quite soon, Domotz will be able to aggregate multiple network interfaces in one single device. But the question is probably more for HaloPSA on which identifier they use for the device, because they might have integration with multiple RMM solution. Domotz one of them from the network side, but there might be different, like Ninja RMM or Enable, different identifier depending on the RMM.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, strictly speaking, the unique identifier that we have in Halo PSA is simply a Halo PSA specific ID attributed to an asset upon creation. Now, each asset will have its Halo PSA identifier, it will have its RMM identifier, and it will have its Domotz identifier. What it will also have is it's going to have this asset tag. So if I go into my list of assets, we will see the asset number or asset tag for our assets in the system. This is primarily what is used to return that asset information. So as such, this is likely what you would want to use. Now there is capabilities within our asset management configuration. If we just go to configuration, asset management, general, where we can actually specify that that asset tag, that asset number must be unique. So to answer your question there, there is a unique identifier in the database, which isn't sort of returned throughout the UI. For example, we can see in here we have this asset has ID 34. What we can return as a unique identifier is the asset number or asset tag that can or cannot be unique depending on how you want to display that asset information. For example, you might have a series of client tenants, and they might all have server 01 on their respective tenants. In that case, you want to make sure your asset tag is not unique. But there is the identifier that comes across from Domotz, which in this case is used to actually open the asset in Domotz, which I believe is this ID here, and also for your RMM. So hopefully that answers your question there.
I think it does. You know, Jendrik asked the question on here as well around some of these identifiers, right? You're correct, right? And under the hood, we each have our own unique identifiers because we are dealing with databases, which completely makes sense. But when it comes to matching up, you know, let's call it a Ninja-based asset with a Halo-based asset with a Domotz-based asset, my assumption is that things like MAC addresses likely get used at that level, right? So that the user can say, okay, these are the two that, or these are the devices that should get, how they should get normalized or synced.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So while each asset has got its own distinct, own unique identifier based on the different platforms that you are integrating with, we have that flexibility within our integrations to say what is our matching field for the assets when they're imported. right? So this is going to update those assets with the Domotz ID. This could be your asset tag or some other field, or we also have MAC address in here. Now, if we go to Ninja and we were to authorize that and log in, you could then use that same MAC address identifier to update those assets. So an asset with the same MAC address is going to have respective fields mapped from Domotz and from Ninja updated for it.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think that's what we're hoping for. So we are right at the top of our hour, right? We've done the 60-minute thing. I definitely see that we still have some questions coming in. We will get those, we'll get answers out to those. Loved all the questions. They were great. I like this format where we had a little bit more of a technical and demo discussion today. I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you do have more questions from a Domotz side, please reach out to support@domotz.com. Log into our website. If you're not familiar with Domotz, create an account, right? Do the trial, test us out, and we look forward to chatting with you. Morgan, if people want to reach out to Halo PSA, what is your email address for your support team?
Support@HaloPSA.com. Or you can reach out directly to me. So that's morgan.aspinall@HaloPSA.com. That's ASPINALL. And yeah, if you want to route emails through me, I can then pass you on to who you need to speak to either get a trial set up, which by the way, you can do so at HaloPSA.com. So if I was to just go there. Oh, if I could spell.
I thought it looked unique.
Yeah. And you can simply go to halopsa.com and you can start a trial up here. That's going to put you in touch with our sales team, who will be happy to give you a demo moving forward, or reach out to me personally.
Excellent.
And yeah, it was a real pleasure speaking with you guys.
Thank you very much. It was great, and we look forward to everybody working together with this and getting some efficiency and value out of this integration. So thanks everybody. It was great talking to you, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.